Hi. It's been a while.
Yeah, how you doing?
It's been a while, we're sorry. But apparently uploading it weekly doesn't matter when the amount of love you guys gave to the last episode was huge. A lot of you, even in the comments, like, I get nervous when there are so many comments, I'm just like, ah, shit, we're getting roasted. But it wasn't the case. A lot of you really sympathize with what we were talking about. I thought for sure it's the internet, but I guess Gen Z or the Gen Z that spends all their time on the internet is not our target audience. So even if you didn't agree with us, thank you for all the love you gave on the last episode we did, getting to about 650, something like that. This one, we don't know how this one's going to go, but Dennis has places to be. I got things to do. We're not going to beat around the bush. It's why we haven't been uploading weekly. Switch 2. What else is there to talk about? What else? Answer me. What else is there to talk about? There isn't. Mr. Too Poor for Nintendo.
Guys,
I don't know why you're calling yourself that, because that's also me. And
we
everybody in this fucking economy.
we got priced out by Nintendo. Like, even scalpers are second guessing themselves right now of like, is there anything to scalp? Because Nintendo already did it.
You may be able to listen to the Double D experience for free, but if there's one thing you're not going to be able to do, it's play the brand new Mario Kart game at a reasonable price. Along with the announcement of the Nintendo Switch 2 the other day, we got all the brand new information about it. We're going to be talking about our predictions, or not our predictions, or what predictions we had came true in the games a little bit later on. But we thought it'd be prudent to talk about what's on everybody's minds right now, Morty. And that is this, as I'll throw on screen for you right here. $450 for the damn thing. And what really is the bigger solution here, or bigger thing going on, the damn games. $80 a pop. What has been confirmed by multiple sources
It's expensive as shit.
is that it's expensive as shit. We're not going to beat around the bush. Now, my guess was that Nintendo likes to keep their consoles cheap, and it's still cheaper compared to, like, the modern consoles we have out. Like, you know, the PlayStation 5 is $500, the
pushing
new
the limits,
PlayStation
though.
Pro is, like, fucking $800, however the fuck much it was, or $700, and then, like, $800 for the little dongles or whatever. Not to mention, obviously, the thousands of dollars you spend on a gaming PC. This is probably the most expensive a Nintendo console has ever been, partially because of the fact that we finally do have a 4K Nintendo console. Spec-wise, this thing actually is there. The dock has a fan in it. That's how, like, much this thing actually needs to be cooled down to run. It's got, like, all the texturing. It runs HDR. It does all that good shit. Is what we were finally expecting a Nintendo console to be, as in the current market of, like, how amazing the Switch was. What else could they have done besides upgrade it to actually fit modern tech standards? But as a result, everybody's blaming the tariffs. That absolutely has something to do with it. Nintendo actually switched manufacturing over to Vietnam recently to avoid the tariffs from Trump. Only from him yesterday to announce 46% on Vietnam specifically. Which is not good for Nintendo and for specifically for the consumers, I should say. The consumers. The coomers. Here's what's... Yeah. So, the pricing, I'm not going to say... I'm not going to get too politically charged and say it's only because of the tariffs. It is in part because of the tariffs, but I gotta be honest, I think it's a healthy mix. I think Nintendo's actually matching the prices here for, like, how much more strenuous this console is on the gaming world, to say the least. How, with ray tracing, I don't think it has ray tracing, I don't remember if it had ray tracing, but it has HDR, it's actually a 4K console, which means as an almost exclusive Nintendo gamer paired with PC, I have to buy a new television for the first time in years now, because I don't have a 4K TV. I, like, put it off for, like, a decade now. But as a result, this is what everyone's talking about. We have this little still, Dennis, that Hazmat over on Twitter, a Smash commentator, posted. This is happening live right now as you and I record this. They're doing the Nintendo Treehouse for Mario Kart World. Look at the Twitch chat. Do you see that shit? They're, like, chanting harder than I was at the Ninja Sex Party concert last week. Drop the price! Drop the price! Drop the price! And I'm not, like, blaming it on the consumer, but you have to admit, It is funny that people have been begging Nintendo to make a more modernized console for years. One with power, one with ray tracing, one with HDR, a 4K console, 1080p docked, much bigger, more vibrant screen. All the insane specs this console has. Again, the dock has a fan. It actually needs a fan to run it again in beyond just the console, in the dock itself to achieve 4K. Along with upgraded versions of all the games, which, good on Nintendo by the way, that if you already own the game on the Switch, you can purchase what they're calling an upgrade pass, which I think is half off or less than half off of the game or something like that, just to upgrade the version you have to the new console, so you don't actually have to buy Tears of the Kingdom again, or buy Mario Odyssey, or whatever game you want to play in 4K now, you don't have to. That being said, your old copies won't work on the new one. It is a different console, and the chips themselves actually have higher readability or some shit. Apparently the chips themselves actually have more memory for them to run faster. This thing comes with 256 gigabytes of internal storage.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge for a Nintendo console because of how much smaller their games are. That's huge. They really did listen to their fans when it came to actually upgrading their specs and making this thing something worth buying at the very least. Still a generation behind because the new consoles are focusing on 8K, but Nintendo's always a gen behind. They know that. It's not a secret. They announced that. That's how they save money. And nobody cares because it's Nintendo. It has Mario on it, so it doesn't matter if, you can't see, the finer seams and outlines on his overalls from, a mile away. It doesn't fucking matter. But what does matter is in this economy, with how expensive everything is going to get, CNN is predicting about a $4,000 additional average on the American person, the American consumer, because of the at least minimum 10% increase on goods, on all imported goods. And every industry across the entire fucking country because of what our great orange dictator has imposed on us. Because of retaliatory tariffs or some shit. That is going to affect Nintendo's bottom dollar here. And is why games, in part, are $80 motherfucking dollars. They haven't been $80 since the 90s, when N64 cartridges used to be that much. Fucking hell. So it ain't just you, Dennis. It ain't just you. Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. I, too, am too poor for Nintendo. There is a Mario Kart game on launch, so I will still be purchasing it immediately like a moron. But the fact of the matter, and I will consume the ice soup on a regular basis as my sustenance for the coming weeks to follow. But, yeah, man. It's not just the console itself. Let's take a look at this. The Pro Controller. $80 for the controller. Joy-Cons are $90. $90 for the fuck. If that shit drifts.
Or
if that shit
those
still
magnets
drifts.
If those fucking magnets fail. I still got those worries about that shit because it's just the first one. That was it. That's all you had to. You just slid the fucking thing down and that you never had to worry about that shit.
They definitely tried to acknowledge it, but in the shittiest way possible. You remember, in the direct, they're the super strong magnets require a button to be able to clip off of them. You see how they went into finer detail about that without being, too heavy-handed and saying, they won't break. It's a little comforting, the fact that you need a button to be able to do it, but at the same time, those magnets better be really fucking powerful. I feel like kids are just gonna be able to, kids are going to put whatever, little fun clippy magnets that they have on that thing to try to decorate their Switch for a bit and, shorten it out or some shit. And then all of a sudden, that's going to be the new Nintendo hotline that we're going to have to talk to people about. Be yes, we know, your kid shorted out the magnets like an
idiot. Or it's eventually the guy becomes so jaded, he's did your dumbass kid put another fucking magnet on the thing?
It would have been less problematic if he put his dick in it. Let alone those stupid fidgety magnets. The Joy-Con charging grip, $35. And you remember, Nintendo actually stopped selling the dock with the Switch pretty soon afterwards, so the dock kit itself, $110. $110 just for the dock itself. And this one's more pricey because it actually is... You're not going to be able to use your normal Switch or your Switch 2 in a normal Switch dock to be able to run 4K games or anything like that. Or hell, it might not even be compatible at all. Because the reason this is so expensive is because that one actually has a fan in it and stuff. It's not just a dock to be able to hold it and display on the TV. This shit needs extra cooling.
Yep.
Because it's more powerful. So... And not to mention that camera, which that thing's gonna be a gimmick. I don't know how many people are really gonna...
Did, Nintendo just watch, Xbox's, past products, like they saw that, what the fuck was it? The Xbox, like not Live. It was like their like camera looking thing. Like I forgot. Like, I mean, like it's such like old hardware that like I'm just like I saw that camera and I'm just kind of like, this looks so like just like, I could literally just like snap it in two if I wanted to. Like, not that I would, but it's just kind of like, it looked so just flimsy, like off a glance. And like, it's so weird too, because like I'm looking at the Switch 2 now and like kind of comparing it to a lot of like, let's say past consoles or console releases or consoles we just had like in the past, and like out of the gate, maybe this is just me, I don't think I've ever seen a console that like not only was the thing announced, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like a fuck ton of peripherals were also like announced as well. And like, they're all like, they just don't come like, well, if you buy like at least the, if you, like you get like the Switch 2 like system, it comes with the system and the dock and like, that like you're good, right? But then like, and we have the Pro Controller, which we know people are gonna get because it is just a better way to play rather than using the Joy-Cons. I never use my Joy-Cons anymore. That shit's just like on my shelf or on like my charging dock forever, and it's just stuck there and I'm never using it.
Same.
So, and like, so already you're paying, let's say if you're not gonna get the Mario Kart World bundle, although arguably if I was thinking about like, getting it like on release day, like I kind of was, I'd just get the bundle because it's like,
$30
like,
cheaper. It's $30 off the game. Yeah.
It's almost like, but then I almost think like just business wise, it's almost them like funneling people to buy the bundle anyways, because like the system and then a separate game, like, both of them separately, it's like $530. So like, it almost makes you kind of go like, well, yeah, the bundle obviously, like financially speaking, just makes sense because you'll be saving $30 for like, the system and plus like a pretty decent game at launch, like Mario Kart World, which again, like I'll give credit where credit's due. It looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really does look great, and hats off to the studio, like thing for all the work that they put in. Like that free roam mode too, like looks actually really fun, and like I kind of really love stuff like that. So,
Diddy Kong Racing-esque.
Yeah, exactly. Like
this game's gonna be Diddy Kong Racing on crack.
Yeah.
Honestly, dude, who cares about any of that? You could play as a cow.
Yeah, or like a bonefish.
Dude, look at the box art of this game. I think the discussion about Mario Kart World isn't what characters are going to be playable in it. It's what characters are not going to be.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
You can play as the fucking. Hold on a second. Did I even send you that? I did. Yeah, I did send you that.
Yeah,
what is this? You get the bonefish from like the fucking like castle levels.
Yeah.
Is that the fucking like side? Like, is that like the like side duck looking thing, like the quack thing that launches you in the air in Mario Sunshine?
Yeah,
it is.
Yep.
You can play as that thing. That's a Pianta. You can just play as a Pianta.
You can play as the Wiggler.
That's not. Oh, that you were already able to do that in Mario Kart 7.
Never mind.
Look at this. You can play as the fucking penguin. This is the penguin. You can play as it. Dude, it's like this roster is going to be absurd. Like fucking absurd. And like it's really about like which characters aren't. And I'm so happy they're doing the outfit thing too, like in Mario Kart Tour, because I hated that like Nintendo has that golden rule of like our characters will never appear on any other consoles except for mobile phones because the money is right.
Yep.
Like, that's the exception that proves the rule right there, with all those gotcha outfits and shit, and now you're finally going to be able to do that where Mario actually belongs on a system like this, So that's pretty cool. And we know there's going to be a ton. Look at these character selection screens. There's pages. You can't fit it all on a fucking screen.
Yeah.
It's in literal pages. You can play as a Goomba and Nabbit. Change the outfits of the. Look at Peach and the biker outfits, dude. Like that fucking Daisy alt. That's giving me life. You see Waluigi like the swag outfit. It's gonna be great. And another prediction of ours coming true: 24 racers per track We all saw that in the initial trailer with like all the outlines that were on there. That's
They
confirmed.
explicitly said it too. They made it a point that
Yep.
like, you know, we're gonna have 24 racers like thing all at once simultaneously. So
24 racer baby park. The stimulation of the brain that is going to occur to me playing 24 fucking racer baby park. I'm gonna keep it straight with you. Like, if I do that, I think I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. Like, I think I'm gonna have like a mental breakdown doing that with the music on that track being what it is, how intense it is with only 8 people on that shit, and
Now
having there
24.
be now 24.
they're
Also-
gonna definitely have to make that track bigger too. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
And if we could go back to the hardware specs for a bit, because this correlates back to it, I just have to be honest, like straight up, like Nintendo, like they added proximity chat for the first time. Like it's a paid feature with Switch Online, with the not only with the camera, but like just in general. There's a microphone built into the Switch now and the controllers. That's the main difference between the controllers here. There's a microphone built into it. To answer your question, you could actually use the Pro controller, the original, with the Switch too. You can. Like they are all compatible. They just don't have the chat feature. They don't have the microphone built in, and they don't have those little extra buttons, the G buttons on the underside of it and stuff. So there's like some extra buttons in the microphone and like just some various other features. But this is where I have to like give my actual earnest feedback to Nintendo, because I have to say this, Nintendo, you fucked up. You fucked up when you added proximity chat to Mario Kart. You fucked up real bad. You fucked up real bad. I really don't think you understand how degenerate that shit is gonna get. I don't think you understand.
How early 2000s Xbox Live chat that shit's gonna get.
I've been in Discord calls playing Mario Kart before. With a lot of the people from the Smash scene back in the day, back during the pandemic. The Glintendo circuits, real ones remember. I have never been, like, I've never experienced more drive-by slurs. More in my life than that. The obscenities that are going to be screamed into this tiny-ass little microphone. Peaking. Like, you know, those kids rapping, like Filthy Frank said, into their little Xbox Live microphones. You know, like, I got plenty pussy. I got plenty pussy. I got plenty pussy. Nintendo, you fucked up. Shit's gonna get real degenerate in there real fast. It's gonna get real bad. It's gonna get bad. It's fun. We've been begging for it forever. But just because we
now
asked
that
for
we've
it,
gotten it, it's just like
like, just because we asked for it, that does not mean you should have, like, obliged us. You know, kids ask for flamethrowers from Santa for Christmas. That doesn't mean you should give him one. Well, Nintendo, you shouldn't have given us proximity chat in Mario Kart. That's all I'm gonna say. You know, it's in God's hands now.
yeah.
Or the devil's,
Yeah.
I should say.
And there's no moderating that shit either, because I know Nintendo won't do it. They won't do it.
They'll try, maybe. Like, they might be filters.
Yeah, but in the most like laissez-faire, bare bones sort of way. Like they're not really gonna be like trying to moderate that shit.
If anything,
like,
there's just
they'll
gonna be
probably-
like a message on screen that says online interactions not rated
Don't
by
swear.
the ESRB. Don't do it, kids.
And don't do it. Don't say the F word.
Then, like, Jiminy Cricket comes out of the fucking console. Jiminy Cricket just comes out of the console, right? Like, well, I judge you. I judge your actions and the content of your character.
You're horrible.
After hearing Jack Horner say the shit in, like, Mario Kart online lobbies. Oh, that was
You're
horrible.
an absolute monster.
Your racism is horrible. You're horrible.
What? I can't even finish.
What took you so long,
So long, idiot.
Fucking hell. Okay. So back finishing here, like, as we'll wrap up the our predictions, just getting accurate. A lot of it was what we thought it was going to be, which wasn't surprising at all. 4K docked, 1080 on handheld. We all knew it. I don't remember reading the patents, or it might have just not interested me enough about the Joy-Cons being able to be used as mice and now there's games that can be used as like.
thing.
So now we have like a mice controller for a console finally, which is kind of cool. I don't know. It kind of seems like a gimmick. I don't know how much Nintendo's. This
People
feels
are
like
gonna be selling mouse pads for Switch 2
This
and labeling
feels-
it.
no. This feels like the kind of thing that like is the gimmick thing Nintendo does at the beginning of the console. The 3DS had AR reading, and it came
Which
with like
nobody
little cards.
used.
Yeah, exactly. Like this feels like the thing that is going to be like, whoa, this is the new thing with the Switch 2. This is cool. 2 days later, I'm bored. I'm just gonna hop back on Mario Kart.
Like, yeah,
I'm gonna hop back on
it's-
Mario Kart and call my cousin like a fucking slur real quick.
It's so odd because on the one hand too, like back in the Wii era, we're talking OG Wii, not Wii U or anything like that. The motion controls like thing, at least upon release, and like when for the first like month or two, like people were like, "Oh, this is like, like I could jerk off this Wii mode and it actually does an action in the game." Like, whoa, it's pretty awesome.
They wanted it to. They wanted it to be temperature controlled, but that never happened.
But everyone and their mothers
Yeah.
ended up buying a classic controller or otherwise. They ended up just getting that shit because unless the game forced you to, you didn't want to use that shitty ass dildo looking nunchuck. You didn't want to use the fucking like, just the Wiimote in general. Like, you wanted to just use it to press A and click on the fucking game in the menu and to play it, and that was it. That was all you wanted to use it for. And maybe jam it up your ass. I don't know. But like, whatever, to each their own. But like,
call that shit a rusty venture.
But well, what I'm getting at too is that like, gimmicks are very much like I wouldn't want to say strictly a Nintendo thing because we've seen even Sony and also Xbox try to do gimmicks. And like when Just Dance was coming out for Xbox around like, around like the later Xbox 360 era to like Xbox One, like they had gimmicks too. Like everyone fucking does. But like it's like that camera. I don't know how popular that's going to be. Truthfully.
No.
I don't really think a lot of people will be buying that like upon release day. And not to mention the Nintendo's chat and like that whole thing that they that feature that they added along with the Switch Online subscription.
Yep.
Just unlocking that feature and stuff. We got Discord.
Yeah.
They're like, they're like Nintendo just be like this. They're always a little bit late, and then like it's so funny because like they're always late, and then when they like mimic or do the thing that's already been around, they love to put it out there as if it's like a whole new fucking thing. It's like we just made like Discord chat, but like we've had Discord chat like, and we had Discord like thing just for fucking years, and like we've already heard from David too. He played Mario Kart while on Discord. Like it was just like. I guarantee you Nintendo probably just looked at Discord's interface, said, hey, we could rip that off, and then like just decided, hey, it's part of the new Switch Online
They looked at
subscription.
Spotify's, and they did the same thing with Nintendo Music, and it's part of their online subscription. They're huge on that. Being able to stream each other's individual games, meeting up in like the open world of Mario Kart World, which is going to be kind of cool, I won't lie, like being in a...
I know, I'm actually like kind of excited for that.
Snapping pictures of the world. It's also a little gimmicky, and I'm sure it'll get old fast. Like, I wasn't really impressed.
Everything has a photo mode now. Every game has a photo mode.
It's to your point, Dennis. I wasn't impressed by any of it because it's nothing new. Nintendo just supposed to say we can do that, and then they homogenize it to their like little subscription service every single time. And the subscription service for all it offers is still a good deal, despite how shitty Nintendo's online is with like, servers and whatnot.
It's gotten better. The thing is because I said it before too, that what they were offering before, a lot of the stuff that they decided to kind of like add into it was not worth it, in my opinion.
No.
Like I don't even think the fanboys were even too crazy about it until now. Because
not at all.
Especially now we got GameCube games. We have games that are worth $80 that we can't touch no more, or like we can't really like, unless you still have your copy, then kudos to you. But if you didn't have like, let's say Coliseum or XD or Path of Radiance, a bunch of games that never got like, in my world, like, at least in the trading card world, like, we call them reprints. It's like, just like released again or whatever, like, just like we never really got that for these games, like, at all. Like, and it just speaks to the fact that, like, for a lot, yeah, again, as David mentioned even before the podcast, like, to a lot of those collectors, like, well, now those prices have essentially dropped because, like, now, okay, I could just get a Switch 2 that, like, as far as bang for your buck goes, like, I mean, there is, like, the price of it still is just, like, it's a big deal for me. And I think it's a big deal for a lot of people because, like, on the one hand, yes, it is, like, at least just the console by itself, like, it's way cheaper than a PS5. It's still cheaper than, like, an Xbox Series X, whatever the fuck.
Like
and
$50. It runs 120. Even in handheld, I think it runs 120, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, which is pretty decent.
That's really good. It's got a bigger screen, 13.9 millimeters, vivid LCD. The SLR buttons are bigger. The speakers are way better. It's got a surround sound. It's got a better adjustable stand. Again, just
and
all
plus
the
like
things.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. 4K
Like
support. Yep.
Yeah. Like it's like for everything it's offering, like I'm not arguing that like okay, like as far as like a price jump goes, it's not warranted. Of course, I'm not arguing against that. But it is just, and I guess this is where I kind of get into like my biggest criticism against it, like the Switch 2 and even just like the sort of tone deafness that they sort of have. And like they've even said like, they tried justifying the price hikes because of the fact that like our games are offering like just much more and like it warrants like the price hike to a certain extent, like at least in terms of like Super Mario Kart World and like a bunch of other games. And like no one's arguing that at the very least like the games that were revealed on during the direct are fantastic. Like I don't think even me, despite like my reservations against the price, like it's still like fucking fantastic. Like the games look great because there's the duality of it where like yeah, like everything that was announced was great, but how are you gonna force people to pay for your fucking tech demo? It was like the weirdest thing I read where like oh, we're going to take you on a tour of like the system and like just everything that it can do and all its features and stuff. Also, BT dubs, you have to pay for it. And I mean, I don't know who is going to buy that like, glorified tech demo, but like it kind of reminds me of like whenever we got like the manual for anything, we always just ended up throwing that shit out because like we didn't need it. Like, at the very least, it's like, I think for the Switch 2, yeah, it's pretty comprehensive as far as like kind of its features and like everything that it's offering. Like just as far as let's say a Nintendo, consumer, whatnot. But, who is gonna try and buy that tech demo?
You're talking about the Nintendo welcome tour thing, right?
Yeah. Like it's a glorified tech demo.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cute because it reminded me of the Wii U. It reminded me of like the Miiverse thing.
Yeah.
But then again, locking that
you have to pay for it.
Locking that behind a paywall, like that's for like the hardcore fans, really. Like that's like what I would have bought like as a kid, but as an adult, like there's just essentially no shot.
No point.
Yeah. I don't really
I'm already paying $80 out of my pocket for a digital game.
We would even need to buy new SD cards for this thing if we wanted more storage because it only runs microSD express cards now. The old ones actually aren't compatible. But I will say, as far as transferring your data, it does the DS download play thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could do where you just put the consoles next to each other and it transfers all of it wirelessly. And speaking of DS download play, they literally brought that back where only one person has to have a game and then other switches are around it and y'all can just play it. Like, it just doesn't matter.
True,
y'all can just do that, which is awesome. So, you remember the Game Link cable that you could put in between, like, Game Boy Advances and shit? They're just still doing that. Like, they're literally still doing that, just in a more modern way. Nintendo is so fixated on the things they've created and just trying to modernize and homogenize them when, like, the other world has just gotten up behind them. Meanwhile, they're releasing, fucking handicap basketball. I was just sitting here, I was like, what the fuck? They're going to try to make handicap basketball an esport. That's where they're going now? You saw that, right? You remember that part?
I legit thought they were like just robots that like instead of legs, they just had like those treads as like, you know, their legs. But then no, I saw legs.
Yeah.
Like actual legs.
No, it's literally just Joe
wheelchair.
Swanson basketball, and they released that as like a fucking main game on the Switch 2 with the mouse
NBA
controls.
Joe Swanson.
Oh, better. Oh, better. Oh, better.
Hey, you know, it does look fun. I'll say that much. But you know, I don't know anyone who is gonna be like that crazy to like go and pick that game up when they already announced that NBA 2K is gonna be on its way for the Switch 2. So it's like, whatever. Like, I'm not here to like bash on the game or anything. It was just kind of
NBA
like
2K doesn't have mouse controls, Dennis. You idiot.
You know, the most innovative feature we've ever seen in the year 2025 of the year of our Lord, from our Lord and Savior Nintendo. Maybe there will be a game. Maybe there will be a game that could really like fully utilize it, but it's like, bro.
No, it's Nintendo's gimmick thing. They release a new gimmick every single console thinking it's going to be this huge innovative thing because they want to replicate the Wii, which was their huge selling console, their huge innovative thing. And then people just go back to playing regular games. Every time. Every time. This time it's different though because they're just emulating the exact same model they had with the last console because the hybrid system idea was just too genius to just abandon. To the point where like they have a FromSoft exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And this shit's actually gonna run on this, supposedly. Hades 2 Split Fiction, which I played with Evan. That game was really fun, actually. That was a really cool game. Hogwarts Legacy. Like, a lot of like games that could have run on this. A new James Bond game. It's called Project 007. That has...
I actually kind of am excited for
yeah.
just a little bit. Because, like, I was a big GoldenEye head.
Yakuza 0. I forgot Yakuza 0 is going to be on it.
Yeah.
Like, all these games that can actually be played on this thing for once. Which is crazy. Not to mention, you know, like, the whole... As soon as the GameCube came on screen, I wasn't surprised in the slightest, but, like, I just went, like, yes! Like, and my heart still fluttered a bit.
We were right. Again, another...
Because this... As far as our laundry list of predictions that were accurate came true. I mean, I really think a lot of people's predictions came true with this one. It wasn't like the biggest, like, you know, like secrets in the world for what was pretty obvious that they had to do with everything they already did and accomplished with the Switch. It's like, okay, what else can they do to appease us?
True, yeah.
Look at the games on this fucking thing with that they were showcasing, man. Like fucking Mario Strikers, Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness. What was the other one? The Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. That game is hundreds. That game is hundreds of dollars to be able to get. Chibi Robo, this was a direct, dare I say, like nuclear, like precision airstrike strike on the fucking, like, classic games market and the scalpers who are selling the shit for hundreds. This is great. This is the first time Nintendo has actually done something genuinely amazing for game preservation. Because before, it's just like they released some hidden titles, somewhat that were really hard to get, but most of them were the basic ones, you know? And it's still technically game preservation, but it's not in the sense that Nintendo people felt like they should have been doing them. People are like, what's wrong with me just purchasing the individual games and releasing them all instead of your own subscription service, adding more at a time? And Nintendo would argue this is better because now we have room to put more and more and it's better for your bottom dollar. And now I agree with them. Because these games are literal hundreds of dollars. They're impossible to get. And there's a lot of people that can't experience the wonders of these GameCube games, which is one of the greatest eras of consoles, underappreciated because of how much the GameCube undersold compared to the PlayStation 2. It was just huge. Because now people can actually play these games on a modern system without having to break the bank. And above all else, that controller. I need that. Listen. I know it sounds stupid, right? And I'm not going to talk about NASB here too much, but real quick, in NASB, from years of muscle memory in Smash Brothers, I like to have both buttons set to shield. But because of the slime mechanic in NASB 2, I needed an extra shoulder button for that. So I played NASB 2 without a grab button. I grab using the shield grab macro, which means I can't pivot grab or do any of those intricate inputs. I've been praying over and over again for years. I wish a new Smash game would come out or something so Nintendo releases a new GameCube controller, specifically that has an extra shoulder button. And now they did. And they made this controller for me, and so that's a day one purchase. It's probably gonna be like fucking $100 for that shit. I don't care. I need that controller. I'm gonna be unstoppable with it.
I also just bring up one more thing.
Absolutely.
not really coming up on time, but I also did want to just mention this one thing because I am kind of happy about it because it's very nostalgic for me. It's not an actual game or anything about Nintendo personally, but, you know, it's something that when me and David were younger, and if a lot of you guys were around, like in the early 2000s, and like, you know, you saw or ever been to a midnight release of anything, it is the fact that Best Buy is opening its stores at midnight for the launch, and you know, you can go and stand online and grab your fucking Switch and, you know, start rubbing it in people's faces that you have more money than them, and like, you know, tell them you're poor and go tell them to go fuck themselves. Kidding, not, you know, don't do that, but like, you know, it's like something that, like, you know, we at the very least, like, you know, I thought even because of like the way the PS5 was, like, it's you know, I think it was definitely one because of like COVID and like, you know, we couldn't do a midnight launch of a console like that because like there was just no fucking way like we were gonna do it. I don't know if that was like I'm still confused as to like when lockdown like officially ended, or at the very least like when things started to open up. But you know, because that console was just scalped to shit. Everyone just fucking like you know, just bought a fuck ton of them and then started upselling them for like, you know, I don't know how much of a markup, but like, you know, it was already expensive to begin with. And like,
forever remind people that my whole job when I was doing the Nintendo program in 2020 was telling people you're not getting a PS5 for your kid for Christmas. Like, they don't exist. They literally might as well have not existed back then with how bad the scalping issue was, and just supply issues, really. That was the big one.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like, again, it's just going back to this. It's like, it's so refreshing to see like that we have a, you know, a midnight release again, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, you know, because like we just haven't had like anything of that sort, like as far as like, because the midnight release was a spectacle. It was like, you know, if you look back at a lot of like the bigger midnight releases from like the early 2000s or late or mid 2000s, like Halo 3, Halo 2, even like people were even, I remember this one, when Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince was coming out, the book itself, people were literally lining up at Barnes and Nobles and like standing in line to get the book. And like, I was there, even though I just watched the movies.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, and I was a kid only because I think it was my mom's sister, my aunt, actually. She really liked the Harry Potter books. So like, they were there and like they were getting the book. So like, you know, I was just there like as just because I had to be.
Right.
But you know, the
energy.
Like, yeah, the energy, the fucking spectacle, like fucking Halo 3 in Madison Square Garden. In New York, in Manhattan. That shit was fucking crazy. Like just seeing like that energy. And I'm gonna put like a bit of a thumbtack on this because I don't know just how much of a reaction people got because of that price point that people were seeing because of the games, and plus even just like the console. $450 for itself, like for the console itself, and then now for the games it's like, you know, you need to pay $80 to like get a digital copy and such. And you know, it's one may argue like it's probably one of the most expensive, like I think it is the most expensive like Nintendo console like we've ever seen. And like one may even argue again back and forth that on the one hand it's also the most powerful Nintendo console we've ever seen as well. And like they at the very least are finally taking advantage of things like 4K and HDR and like, you know, all these like modern like, you know, graphical settings that like people were already doing arguably since like 5-6 years ago, maybe even earlier than that. But like, you know, it's, and only because like I am very much like pro-consumer, and I also know that Nintendo, as far as all the good that they've done with this new console, like, you know, with the Switch 2 and like all the good things that, you know, we mentioned like throughout the episode, it seems very anti-consumer from their end, because like it almost feels like, you know, it kind of feels like we're being priced out to a certain extent. Like,
they've always been one of the most anti-consumer companies.
Yeah.
In general.
And, you know, like, again, not for nothing either. Like, you know, again, I sing it. We've been singing its praises because, like, for one, yes, finally, the console, like, thing is, like, you know, to a certain extent, like, up there with, you know, our modern day consoles. Like, still kind of lagging behind a bit, sure, but, like, you know, it's getting there. Like, it's at the very least, it's, like, taking advantage of the things we've already been doing, even if they are a little bit late.
Most people still don't use 8K.
Yeah, nobody does.
Yeah, most people still don't use 8K, so this is basically the closest Nintendo has ever been, like you said, like to a really true modern console, keeping up with like the PS5 and the Xbox and shit.
And, you know, I even like to think, like, in that boardroom meeting of, like, all the things that they were kind of, the laundry list they were kind of going down of, like, all the things we got to mention for the launch, like, or at least for this Direct. GameCube finally being added to the Switch Online membership. Fucking great. Like, that's fucking awesome.
They needed another selling point for the Switch too.
They did.
For sure. That's why they waited.
And at the same time, like, you know, it just added to the impact of its of like the reveal and of the Direct and everything. Like, it was just like one thing after another until that price. And again, you know, personally for me, and I'm going back to that midnight launch, like, for Best Buy, like, I mean, if you guys are going to be there, like, that's pretty awesome, I guess. Like, you know, like, if you guys got the dough, or if at the very least, like, you know, what's it, June 5th is when it's coming out?
Yep.
You guys have time
way
to
sooner
save
than
up.
I thought. I thought for sure this was dropping holidays. It's already bad enough that they have to go up against it's already bad enough that they have to go up against the moms that are like, I already got you a Switch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Calling it the Switch 2 to, like, announce this is the sequel, what makes it different? It's already bad enough that they have to go up against them in this economy as well, by the way, which is already hard, where most people are living paycheck to paycheck, that they're going to get even more expensive because of these tariffs. It's bad for everybody. It's not just bad for the consumers. It's bad for Nintendo, because they have to pay those tariffs. They have to pay, like, those, like, fucking importing fees, which are increased now just because Trump doesn't like yellow people. Or some shit.
Or just any people.
Or just any people, like, or just any non-American people. It's like, I think more and more people are going to realize it once those prices go up, and especially when their Social Security gets cut. That's going to be the big one. That's really going to make people actually start to fucking turn against them.
Groceries are already expensive as it is. Like, you know, food itself is like...
regardless when it gets to that point, because everything is about to get more expensive, as we all knew it was going to. Anybody with a brain did. He literally told us it was gonna. It's gonna impact video games as well, and that was one of the big things that I predicted last. It wasn't a safe, like I said, like, to compare to all our predictions, it wasn't a hot take or anything. It was a freezing cold one. Like, anybody with a brain could have called that one. But yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't impact it too much, because we already knew this one's not going to sell as much as the normal Switch, because it's the sequel directly to the console. You're already fighting against...
more expensive.
And it's more expensive. You're fighting against the parents who are going to fucking not buy it for their kid yet because they already have a Switch. And now with the price increase being this much, it's like you really have to make it different. Is that mouse shit going to do it? No. No, it's not. We all know it's not going to. The games are the only things that might. We're going to very briefly talk about the new announcements before we wrap up here, because we're already getting a little bit past time. I knew this one was going to run a little longer.
Yeah.
New games, Dennis.
Yes.
What has you the most excited out of those announcements? Because the end one, or not the very end one, but the end one before the end one tickled my ass in such a way, because they realized, hey, we need another selling point. Yeah.
Riders.
Oh, and that game with proximity chat is also going to get a little rambunctious. It's so cute. Sonic Sega All-Star Racings. There's a new Sonic racing game. They tweeted the day of this announcement. They're like, hey, congratulations on the new racing announcements, but if you guys want to play one... No, they straight up said, if there's a game that you guys want to fucking... I think I sent it to you. If there's a fucking... What was it exactly that they said? Let me
you can play with your friends around the world across all your favorite platforms. Sonic Racing Cross World.
I don't care. Like, it's Mario Kart and Kirby Air Riders. We've been waiting for a new Kirby Air Ride for 20 fucking years.
This
Putting
was made
Sonic
by Sakurai,
in a car.
Right?
Yeah, it was directed by Sakurai. Putting Sonic in a car that's not gonna outdo that for me. I don't care. Fuck off. Like, I don't care.
I want to see my pink puffball on its star and crashing into people.
Dude, and the city, oh my god, City Trials. Modern City Trials with like Discord and everything. Oh my god, it's gonna be amazing. Oh, we've been begging for that. We've been begging for that game for years. I'm so happy that that's finally happening. That's
I am too.
as far as game announcements, that's probably the most up there for me. I mean, I was grinning ear to ear watching Mario Kart because that music was right. That was some peak Mario music if I ever did hear it before in my life. All the cute little outfits you can put them in. The fact that it basically has a Diddy Kong Racing overworld with like a mission mode and free roam. That's sick. That was a really smart way to take the franchise.
2 more that were on the docket, which I'm very excited for. I don't know if I'm going to be getting these on launch per se, but new DK. Finally,
well, you're not going to get that on launch because that one's not a launch title.
Okay, fair. But like, it's just like finally a new DK title.
Yeah.
Which, we're finally out of the fucking remake, limbo of like Frozen Over or whatever the fuck. Like, finally there's a new DK game.
Yes.
And Metroid 4, which finally
still no release date.
Still no release date, but hey, it's like we got like a little something, like more than just like hey, by the way, well, all the team, whatever the work that the team did, yeah, we axed that shit because it was bullshit.
Prediction number 5,000 from me and you that came true. That one has its own Switch 2 title. It's also being released for both consoles, like the Zelda games always were. Yeah, that one, another obvious prediction that like came true at the end of the day. Yep. And it's not like a Switch title where you can buy the upgrade or anything. It's like no, you could just straight up like. You could just have a Switch 2 version and play Metroid Prime 4 in 4K, which is how that game is supposed to look for sure. Not to mention DK out of Limbo, but the fact that it's 3D DK out of Limbo. There hasn't been a 3D, a platformer, a 3D open world DK platformer.
Since 64, right?
Yeah. And it's a fucking beat 'em up too. Like, I can only... The crazy thing about that game sounded violent with the grunts he was making too. I wouldn't be surprised if that one got like a T rating, like low-key. Probably E10 if I had to be real, but like... I remember because Donkey Kong Jungle Beat was rated T, because that was before E10 Plus existed, I think.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because that game was violent. He punched the shit out of everything in that game. Yeah, so, I will say, with that trailer being the way it was, that one had to be a Switch 2 launch title, or a Switch 2 game as well, because it seems like virtually every piece of the environment in that game is destructible and interactable by DK. That takes a lot of RAM. That takes a lot of power. So for sure, that one had to be a Switch 2 one because I think it's going to be more powerful than people let on. And the fact that it's this huge open world underground world that you can punch the shit out of literally everything.
It's DK in Minecraft.
And he's got little outfits too. He's got like one of them had overalls. Some people are still salty about his redesign. I don't care. Like I really
looks okay. It's grown on me. It's grown on me.
That's what I'm saying. Like just like Mario's new voice, we're going to get used to it. It's just going to happen with time. You're still going to buy their products, and Nintendo knows that. So when they had to do what they had to do, they had to do it. But, oh my god, the grunts that they brought... Dude, in the trailer, he straight up goes, "Oh, banana." Just like DK64.
Yeah.
Oh, and I gotta say, it was a ballsy thing to do, but I'm so happy that they're launching this with a 3D DK instead of a 3D Mario, because we've been begging for a new 3D DK forever, and Odyssey was so huge that if we really needed a second one, the only thing I'm going to say to those people is that you ought to see these nuts. That's all I'm going to say instead. We'll get one eventually. There's going to be a new 3D Mario. Yeah. I think it's going to be a little later in this system's lifespan, maybe like a couple of years.
We technically are getting a launch title Mario game, which is Mario Kart.
But it's not a mainline game. Yeah.
So...
Yeah, again, so those are the two, pretty much. I mean, there's the exclusive FromSoft game, which I'm probably not going to get. I've never been too into those games, but the fact...
I gotta watch that one again.
The fact that this game can run them.
And even Elden Ring.
And even Elden Ring, yeah, which we're going to be able to do. Like, having... Like, there were so many games I didn't want to play on the Switch, and that was every third-party game that was also on PC because of it not being able to run them. 120 FPS, 4K, I got it now. I'll rebuy Sonic
With active cooling?
Yeah, with active cooling. I will proudly rebuy Sonic Frontiers of the Switch 2 version, because I wanted to play that game on console so much more than PC. I really did. Mm-hmm. It's an open world game. I don't want to sit at my desk while I do that. I want to lay at my bed. I want to see it on a bigger TV screen. Yeah. And with a huge open world game like that, but it didn't exist yet. Game came out in 2022, so...
True.
But now, assuming that they relaunch Frontiers on it, which they probably will, they're going to make like a 4K upgrade version. There's not going to be a 4K version, I think, of every game. It's going to be dependent on the game cartridges and whatnot. which they're more powerful game cartridges as well. Like, they have like higher RAM or readability in them or something, which is why you're not going to be able to use the new ones in the old one. That was done deliberately because they obviously don't want people to bypass the paywalls. But yeah, these game announcements were absolute fire. I don't care about DK's redesign. The game looks amazing. Street Fighter on there too. That's fun. All the fun beat 'em up. Kirby Air Riders, which is a huge one, being directed by Sakurai, which I am so happy that it wasn't Smash. There were people who were begging for Smash again. I don't want to do all that again. I can't do all that again. I don't want to get sucked into that whirlpool again. If there was ever a time for there to not be a new Smash game with the plethora of other amazing platform fighters that exist now, we don't need a new Smash. There's never been a time in history less that we have needed a new Smash game. And if I could make one more prediction before we wrap here, Dennis, no new Smash game. About a year or two, there's going to be 4K Smash Ultimate, but they're going to release it as a new game with new characters and shit. They don't want to get rid of any of the old characters. It's going to piss off most of the casual base. It's like, and that's where most of their money comes from anyway. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. There's never been a time where
make a Switch 2 edition for Smash Brothers.
There's never been a time where we have needed a new Smash Brothers game less. Like ever.
Than now.
They really had then now because we have this new one with all the characters. Just because, I'm sick of Steve being so broken. Cry about it. There's other platform fighters. That's the big one. There's so many other platform fighters now that you can play if you're really sick of it, So for the Switch 2 being what it is, it just makes more sense to do it. So that's my prediction. Couple of years, there's going to be not a new Smash game. There's going to be Ultimate 2. It's going to be Ultimate 2 with like 4K and whatnot. There's no reason to release a new one, especially with these tariffs and shit. So yeah, we're done. We got places to be. Dennis has got shit to do. We love y'all. We're gonna sign off. We don't know if we'll see you next week. We're experimenting with new scheduling for the podcast, and apparently it doesn't matter with how many listens you guys gave the last episode a month ago anyway. So truthfully, we might be able more keen to do this to our own schedule before me and Dennis get situated again. But that remains to be seen. Yeah. We're not just podcast hosts. We're buddies. We help each other out, economic wise, job wise. Sexually.
We love y'all.
We love y'all. Here's the plugs. Boom. Put them on screen. Dennis, what do you have to say to the people while these plugs for this podcast, which you can listen to on Spotify, give a 5-star rating, as well as subscribe on youtube.com/Nintoonist, and also like and comment what your favorite part about the Nintendo Direct was and your favorite thing about the Switch was and how you're reacting to the prices. What do you have to say, Dennis? Bring us out.
All I'm going to say is that think of your wallets. Think of the times we're living in. Do you really need...
That's real.
Do you need the Switch 2? Do you absolutely need it? And if you do, better start saving. That's all I'm saying. Because shit ain't cheap. That's for sure. So, again, I'm not here to disparage nobody's purchase if you guys are planning to do it. Like, planning to bite the bullet on it. Like, if you guys are planning to splurge on, like, the whole thing, like, by all means, do so. Like, if you got the means, fine, do it. If you don't, you have two options of whether or not you want to start saving now. Get a second job by doing Uber Eats. Whatever the fuck, like, just get that money somehow. Because, groceries already be mad expensive, and so are now apparently Nintendo consoles. So just letting you know. Like, just think of your wallet. All right? Just, if you live on your own, it's like, fuck, whatever. Go get the Switch 2. Who gives a shit? But like, hey, like just again, that's all I'm saying. Just think of your wallet. Is it worth it? Are you gonna cream as soon as you go to Best Buy and they hand you the console? Like, just think of that, right? So we love y'all. And if I see y'all at midnight release, I guess I'll see y'all at midnight release. But again, it's not a necessity. It's not groceries. It ain't water.
The Switch 2 is going to be the biggest fuck it purchase of my life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to stare at that screen on June 5th when it goes live. And with 2 clicks of a mouse tail, $500 from my bank account will be gone. But I will be in possession of the latest and greatest Mario Kart title.
Yeah, I'm gonna feel like Cartman, like having that shit in my hands. I'm gonna just like rub it in everyone's face. Like, you're too poor. Gonna definitely be a Cartman purchase for sure.
It's definitely a
Jose.
certified Cartman purchase. I got the Switch too. Do you have a Switch too, Kenny? No, you don't have one because your family's too poor. Oh my god. Hey, he got a PSP on launch, so good for you,
PSPs are fire.
Kenny. PSPs are fire. We love y'all. We'll see you when we see you. Hopefully we'll get back to a regular schedule soon. If not, we will see you when we see you, and when we have a topic we want to talk about for recording again. We love y'all. Mwah. And, yeah. Listen, heed Dennis's words. Bye.
Think of your wallet.